Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to my newest video with regards to my series on recurrent eye floaters and my potential treatment for them. And today is actually going to be an interesting update with respect to how I'm approaching this year in terms of what I'm going to do about recurring floaters that have developed in my right eye. And for those of you who have been watching my recent videos, you'll know that I have been undertaking some steps to hopefully have a repeat vitrectomy surgery, but after a couple appointments that I've had recently, I'm actually putting that on hold for the very short term to give a potential kind of new and emerging sort of treatment with respect to limiting the impact of the floaters that I discussed with a retinal specialist over this past week. So to recap, I had been looking at getting a repeat vitrectomy surgery. I actually met recently with a retinal specialist in Charlotte who I was my first visit with him, and that's my hometown, and he essentially ruled out major complications regarding the floaters and really shied away from wanting to do a repeat surgery. Basically said it was a bit risky and also arrived at the conclusion it'd be difficult to remove the vitreous that was left behind from my first surgery, just because of the nature of the first surgeon removing probably the most accessible part of the vitreous, and also due to the fact that I have not had cataracts develop, so it's my natural lens that's still in the eye, and given that it's round shaped as opposed to a artificial lens would be flat, it's a little bit more difficult to navigate around it, was his disposition. So basically implying that because of that, or if it was an artificial lens that was flat, it would be easier to kind of attack the vitreous jelly that was still intact. With the natural lens, it'd be more difficult. I'd not actually come across that before, although I have heard other retinal surgeons say that post-cataract surgery, a vitrectomy for floaters is more successful. So makes sense. I hadn't had that frank discussion with a retinal specialist before, so that was kind of an interesting tidbit. But essentially, his opinion was he would not do the surgery now, but willing to do follow-up. So I'm going to see him in another few months, and we'll discuss. And I'm also going to potentially meet with another doctor at the practice to get their concern. But in the interim, this past week, I traveled up to Northern Virginia, and I met with the retinal specialist there. His name is Mohsin Ali. I'm happy to provide the link to his profile in the comment section of this video. And I actually sought him out specifically, and this is the reason why. About 10 years ago, I discussed with the retinal surgeon who had ruled out treatment of floaters and told me to live with them, etc. I had mentioned to him that when I get my eyes dilated, when I'm in the office, I don't notice the floaters. And I say, it's great. You know, I'm coming in for the appointment, you guys dilate my pupil, and I don't really notice the floaters anymore. It gives me some short-term relief of the annoyance that they cause. And I broached the idea of, can I just dilate my pupil to block out the floaters? And it was just kind of an idea I had. He would say, and he kind of said it was sort of unorthodox, but you could, was kind of his overall opinion of it. And I said, is there anything harmful about doing that to my eye? And he said no, but ultimately I never did that. I was like, it's kind of a crazy idea. Why am I going to dilate my pupils all day, every day to mass floaters? This is not realistic. And I just kind of ruled it out on my own. I mean, he wasn't really against it, but he wasn't really a proponent of it either. So I just said, you know what, that's not something I'm going to explore. You have to get prescriptions to get eye drops, etc. So fast forward about 10 years, my current journey, and I came upon a study that is reported in the National Institute of Health, and it was led by Dr. Ali, who I met with, and he actually is undertaking a study right now with a select group of patients on administering low doses of dilation drops to their eye to see if they mask the symptoms of systematic floaters. So I was really intrigued by that because I said, wow, that's something that I've actually had that idea so long ago, and ruled it out. And here I come across an actual retinal specialist considering this as a potential treatment. It's not a cure. You will not be getting rid of your floaters this way, but you will be dilating your pupil in a small dose, not similar to what they do in the office, but dilating it in a way that hopefully helps to reduce how clearly you see the floaters. I said, that's really interesting. We go up and talk to him. So I did. We had a great discussion about it. He actually wrote me a low-dose prescription for 12 months. It's something that's shipped to you, so I've paid for it. It's in the mail. I'm waiting to get those drops delivered. I just met with him last week. I should be receiving them this week. And I'm actually going to test that out for the next few weeks and probably months to see, does this daily drop reduce how visibly those floaters appear in my line of vision? And if so, perhaps great. Perhaps I don't really need to explore further treatment, because ideally I'd like to not do a surgery if I don't have to. Now, if they don't really block out the floaters, if they maybe only block out a couple, then we'll see. And if it's clear right away that they're not doing anything, I might discontinue it and proceed with another avenue. But if there is some improvement, and I'm going to give it probably a few months to really see if this is a viable alternative. So thought I'd share that with everyone. Maybe that's something you all want to consider. I'm not really necessarily saying that's right for everyone, or it's going to, I haven't done it yet, so it's not going to be, I'm not saying this is great, waving the victory flag or anything like that, but it's something that I'm going to report back on how I'm doing, and maybe it's something you want to explore with your retinal specialist. So for the time being, vitrectomy is on pause. I'm going to give this at least a couple of weeks and most likely a few months, and I'm happy to post a video with respect to the results of that when my basically experiment has concluded. So hopefully you all find that interesting. The name of these drops, I believe, I'm going to pronounce it wrong most likely, but Atropine. I'll spell it out in the comments sections. Very low dose to dilate your pupil and hopefully block out the floaters. So hope everyone's doing well, staying safe in the snowstorm, and look forward to connecting through the comments.